As the war in Ukraine enters its third year, the narrative in mainstream media often fluctuates between stalemate and minor shifts. However, beneath the surface, the conflict is intensifying in ways many observers miss. This isn't just a localized dispute, it's an evolving global pivot point. We're seeing a transition from a war of maneuver to a high-tech war of attrition. To understand why it's getting worse, we must look at the data points that don't make the nightly news: the shifting demographics of the front line, the industrialization of drone warfare, and the geopolitical alliances that are hardening. This is the reality of the Ukraine war today, and why the stakes have never been higher.
One of the most critical factors often understated is the human cost and the demographics of the soldiers. Average ages on the front lines have risen significantly, and both sides are struggling with mobilization. For Ukraine, the average age of a soldier is now over 40. This creates a sustainable crisis for the future economy and national recovery. While Russia utilizes vast numbers from its penal colonies and remote regions, Ukraine faces a delicate balance between defending the front and preserving its youth. The meat grinder tactics in places like Bakhmut and Avdiivka have consumed thousands of lives, leading to a desperate need for fresh recruits that political leaders are hesitant to demand from a weary population.
We are witnessing the first truly automated war. FPV drones and electronic warfare have changed the battlefield more in 2 years than in the previous 20. It's no longer just about tanks and artillery. It's about who can control the electromagnetic spectrum. Russia has scaled up its domestic production to thousands of drones per month, while Ukraine relies on a decentralized network of volunteers and tech startups. This technological race means that any armor on the battlefield is visible and vulnerable within minutes. The closed sky created by electronic warfare units means traditional air support is often negated, forcing troops into brutal ground-level engagements that are recorded and broadcast in real time. While the West focuses on its own internal debates, Russia has solidified an axis of support with North Korea and Iran. Intelligence reports suggest North Korea has supplied over 1 million artillery shells, more than the entire EU has provided to Ukraine in the same period. Iran continues to supply the Shahent drones that plague Ukrainian infrastructure. This external support allows Russia to maintain a high rate of fire that Ukraine struggles to match. The war is no longer just between two nations. It is a testing ground for the military hardware of authoritarian regimes against Western systems, creating a feedback loop of industrial military expansion that is difficult to stop.
Beyond the front lines, a systematic campaign is targeting the heart of Ukraine's economy, its power grid. In recent months, Russian strikes have focused on thermal and hydroelectric plants, not just substations. This is designed to make Ukrainian cities uninhabitable during the winter and to collapse the industrial base. Rebuilding these facilities costs billions and takes years, resources that are currently being diverted to the front. The goal is total state failure through attrition of the civilian spirit and economic capacity. Without consistent air defense, the cumulative damage to the energy sector could reach a breaking point, forcing millions more to flee or live in darkness. The political landscape in the West is shifting. What was once unanimous support has become a contentious issue in the U.S. Congress and European parliaments. Delays in ammunition shipments and air defense missiles have direct consequences on the front line, leading to lost territory and increased casualties. The rhetoric of "as long as it takes" is being tested by domestic economic concerns and election cycles. This uncertainty provides Moscow with a strategic advantage, as they bank on the West's shorter political attention span compared to Russia's long-term mobilization for a forever war. The bottleneck of aid is effectively changing the tactical reality on the ground daily. We are entering a dangerous phase where red lines are being blurred. As Ukraine utilizes long-range drones to strike Russian oil refineries, hitting over 10% of their refining capacity, Russia responds with renewed threats of nuclear signaling and broader mobilization. The risk of a direct NATO-Russia confrontation, while still low, is at its highest point since the Cold War. Both sides are climbing the escalation ladder, and the lack of diplomatic off-ramps means the only way out for either side is perceived as total victory. This makes a negotiated peace increasingly unlikely in the near term, as both participants believe they can still win through industrial endurance. The war in Ukraine is not frozen. It is a dynamic, evolving, and increasingly violent conflict that is reshaping global security architecture. To understand why it's getting worse, we must look at the convergence of technology, human exhaustion, and shifting global alliances. The unheard story is that the conflict is entering a phase of industrial-scale attrition that will define the 21st century. Whether the international community can sustain its support, or if the world will adjust to a new era of permanent conflict, remains the defining question of our time. Staying informed with objective data is the first step toward understanding the stakes for global peace and stability.